guys, thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah and let's recap and review Real Housewives of Orange County. This is season 18, episode 7. So let's get into it. Y'all know sometimes we get a little spicy and I just got 3 things to talk about. So first up, let's talk about Gina. So Gina finally decided to address the metallic ashy blonde elephant in the room. So let me play that clip of her addressing people's comments about her confessional look.
I get it. I hear you. I see what you see, honestly. I understand you don't like this interview look. And when I saw the episode prior to it airing, I said that doesn't look great. So I want you all to understand, I stand by, I actually really love this whole outfit, I'm not gonna lie, and it actually looks pretty great on, but I'm not gonna defend myself because I see what you see, and the bottom line is you can't land every plane, So I can just promise you I get it. And I will hopefully do better next time. Can't even really promise that.
I'm glad Gina's not taking everybody's criticism to heart because it's ugly. It's an ugly outfit. But I do agree with her to a certain extent where she's like, well, it looks good on. And that can be true because we have oftentimes seen girls and even men when it's time for like reunion season and they have on their outfits, they photograph well, but then when they sit down on the couch, you're like, this doesn't look right. It looks ugly. And even certain lighting can make an outfit look cheap than what it looks like in person. But like I said, I'm happy she's taking it in stride. So the next clip I want to play is an interview, like a piece of an interview that Alexis did with Bryce Sanders with Entertainment Tonight. Basically, he was talking to her about her relationship with John. They brought up the Carlos King interview, and she said something about John actually said that he would double like her like paycheck if she didn't want to be, or if he like, it was something weird about her not being on the show. Let me play the clip for you.
You said in an interview recently that John offered you what you were going to make for this season to not do the show. How did that even come up, first of all? And 2, why didn't you take that? 1, it proves to me that you're not in it for the money, you're in it for some other reason.
Well, that's not true.
Okay.
But I'll clarify that. I think he knew I wanted my own independence, but he also was just like, I think he was wanting to let me know, first of all, just how much he did love me and that he would be willing to take care of me. And I'll give you something I've never said in any other interview. He actually also then offered to double it. He said, okay, I'll pay you double what Bravo is paying you. And I said, Johnny, I have to do this for me. I already gave up my first career to be a stay-at-home wife for my first husband and my 3 children. And I know I get looked down upon because I was a kept woman or what other people have said. So I just told Johnny I have to do this for myself. And once I did make the decision, he has been nothing but supportive and has never mentioned, the money again.
Okay.
So.
How much I believe this from Alexis about John wanting to double her like Bravo salary if she decided not to take the job with Bravo and be a friend of. I don't know. Now, I'm the type of person, like, if I give you something and I ask for it back, I demand it back, give it back. And I'm not going to fault nobody about, like, their money. Like, your money is your money. But I'm not going to give John that much. Because I really don't think John got money the way he let on with Alexa talk about, I'll double your salary. I don't believe that, sir. I really don't. But, I don't know. Alexis is just annoying to me because I thought she was going to be fun and delusional, but she's actually like delusional and annoying. And the thing about it is with Alexis is if you wanted this to be like your new career when it comes to Real Housewives, then you should have made yourself a lot more palatable to the viewers. Because even though I'm enjoying every aspect of this show, like every aspect, I know some people I don't like, but like as an ensemble cast, OC is delivering. We're only on episode 7 and I have not gotten bored yet compared to Jersey or even Dubai. So like I'm really enjoying OC, but I'm just looking at Alexis like, girl, if you wanted to come back or at least be in the runnings to come back and have a better like I guess is it like speed or like better time, I guess, then you would try to make yourself more palatable to the viewers. I'm not saying don't beef with Shannon if you really got beef with the lady, but don't make it like every single time we see you is John, Shannon, John, she's done horrible things, John. You doing too much. You doing too much, Alexis. Just too much. And then the last thing I want to talk about is the mid-season trailer. It came out yesterday. They gonna keep delivering. They are going to keep delivering when it comes to Real Housewives of Orange County. And shout out to this Twitter user by the name of the Bravo Life. I see them all the time. I think we're mutuals, but I somewhat agree with this take that they just posted. They say these two deserve first chair this season. It only is right. And the picture is of Shannon and Jen. And I agree. I do think Shannon and Jen should get first chair because it looks like Shannon is carrying in the first half of the season and Jen's about to carry the second half of the season. They go on to say Jen and Shannon share their personal lives on another level compared to the other ladies. It's raw, it hurts them to share, but they never hide anything. Now, I don't believe with them never hiding anything because I definitely think they do hide things, but I will agree to a certain extent that they do share. They're very transparent to a certain extent, more than the other cast members. But I do wholeheartedly agree that they should be first chair because Shannon been working and it look like Jen's been working too, but she about to really put in her time on the next half of the season. But I don't see them giving Jen first chair just yet. I feel like what's going to happen is they're going to make Shannon first chair and Tamra first chair because Tamra's about to be beefing with Jen and Shannon throughout the season. So I can see it being Shannon, Heather, and Gina. And then on the other side of the couch, I can see it being Tamra, Emily. No, I can see it being Tamra. No, because that wouldn't work because Jim probably ain't gonna want to sit by Tamra. Okay, maybe let me get my mind right. Okay, I can see it being Shannon, possibly Heather, then maybe Jen on one side, and then Gina beside Jen, and then on the other side, I could see it being Tamra, Emily, and Katie. But maybe they might swap Jen and Heather and make it Shannon, Jen, and Heather, then Gina. But who knows? All I'm saying is it's been a pretty good season and we only 7 episodes in. But let's get into this review. So let's talk about this episode. So if you remember, the ladies are broken into 2 groups. So you have one group in La Quinta, the other group in Big Bear. So let's talk about the La Quinta group. So they're deciding to eat breakfast outside. Everyone's at first is just like, oh, this has been a pretty nice getaway since, the situation that happened the night before between Heather and Gina and all of that stuff. So they're sitting down at the table and Emily brings up, I think, John. And Emily's like, Shannon, what's up with you and John? Because the way you made it seem, the phone calls you gave to us is that you were paying for everything. You were doing all this stuff for him. And yet now all of a sudden he's suing you for $75,000. So then Gina chimes in and was like, yeah, like you never made it seem like he paid you back for the things that you did for him. And so Heather in her confessional is like, yeah, Shannon always was like, that was like the point of contention for them. Like if he really cared about her, he would be trying to foot the bill for things. Like, how can you care about me and you're not even willing to like spend money on me or do things for me? So this is kind of different from what Shannon is giving us. So then Shannon is just kind of like, I have like stacks of like banknotes and all the things and the things that I've done for John. She brings up this whole birthday thing for his daughter where she ended up paying like, I guess like $10,000 for this trip for like her family and his family going to like celebrate his daughter's birthday. Like she upgraded everybody's seats in the plane and everything. And she was like, I did that because I cared. And I thought like that's what, like I thought he cared about me too. And then they're all like, you're doing all of this stuff and he never did it for you. That's just kind of crazy. And then because Emily makes us a comment like, why did you keep doing it? And so then Heather is like, well, sometimes when you're in love or you're in a relationship, you think all the money is like in one pot. So you never like think you're doing something wrong. And then Shannon brings up being like, well, he's a man and I didn't want to like disrespect him in that way because you know how men are about their money. But then you have Heather in her confessional being like, this is why you have to listen to both sides, because sometimes the prosecution has a better like story than the defense. And she's like, Shannon is the prosecution. And some people were upset about what Heather was saying, but I got what Heather was saying. Shannon tried to paint this picture about how her life with John was so great. They were so in love. She had never been loved and respected like this ever before. But then all the while, you're calling people drunk in the middle of the night, saying all these disparaging things about this man, saying how he doesn't pay for things. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. And then now it comes out that he's suing you because he then in fact gave you $75,000 or $65,000 for like, I think 35 was like for the facelift, the other 30 was something else. And it's like, so what is the real story? So now you have people sitting back like dissecting all the things that Shannon has ever told them about John and kind of feeling like Shannon is a liar. And I don't fault people for feeling that way, because if I was in the same situation, I would be looking at Shannon like, so you said he wasn't giving you money, he wasn't doing all these things for you, but now he's suing you because he did give you money. He gave you $75,000. Like, what's going on? Like, what's going on, Shannon? But I do believe that Shannon did foot the bill for a lot of things. But that is, like, honestly why you don't try to, like, pump fake in front of everybody and try to curate this image of your relationship when it's not good to begin with. Because when it falls apart, now everyone's looking at you like you've been lying to them, or you are lying on the person that you have been saying has done all these horrible things to you, because they don't know what to believe. That's why it's just rather be honest. Like that saying, like, it's easier to defend the truth than to defend a lie. It is. And the truth may be embarrassing. It may make you feel stupid, but at least you're able to like keep your stories together, and you're not having to like defend yourself or do double times the work of defending yourself when everyone is looking at you like, girl, you've been lying to us. So then Shannon just starts to get really emotional, starts to cry about how overwhelmed she is with all of this situation. And, you know, Gina's like, man, I really feel bad for you. And then she starts to cry, and you see, I think, what's it called? I think Heather was like, can you just say, like, put him in mediation and, like, figure out a way to, like, come to some type of understanding? Then Emily is like, why can't you just pay him the money and let it go? And Shannon's like, I'm not about to give him no money. And I understand where Shannon's coming from. If I've been footing the bill for everything, I'm not about to give you no money either. Like, you can cancel Christmas on that one, bro. Like, I'm not doing that. But I also understood where Emily and Heather were coming from, because when Shannon starts to break down, Emily starts to hug her and starts to cry too. And honestly, I would have cried too. I'm a sympathy crier. Like, if I don't cry for you, when you cry in front of me, that should let you know I feel nothing for you. I've cried for people even like I don't even like that much, but I just felt bad for them. But if you hurt me so bad, like I don't cry for you when you cry in front of me, just know we not ever gonna be the same. It's never gonna be the same with me and you. It's never gonna be the same. So Emily's consoling Shannon, being like, don't cry, it's okay, you're gonna get through this. And like, I like how Emily and Heather both was like, your mental health is worth more than this. And I think that's why they were like, just pay the man and like get away from him. But I also understand being like, no, I don't want to pay him. But I'm just like, girl, if it's taking all of this, I wouldn't want to do this. So then Shannon's in the confessional being like, she's actually surprised that these women are being so kind to her, because they haven't been on the best of terms. And I did see the after special where she talked about how she was so surprised by Gina, because, you know, they ain't really ever been that cool since Shannon was like throwing it in her face how she helped Gina, and then the CPS comment. So, you know, everyone's trying to like be like, well, you know, Shannon, we got you. Even Heather on the after show was like, everybody loves Shannon. And she was just like, but this has been a lot for all of us. Like, this has been a lot. But she was like, she's hoping she's on the other side of it. Let's continue with the ladies in La Quinta. So they decide before they leave, they're going to play pickleball. So they decide to get in their cute little outfits and they play pickleball. We actually see Gina and Emily play while Heather and Shannon are in the bathroom trying to fix Shannon's eyelashes and stuff like that. So we see them play a game, and we end up seeing Gina and Emily meet each other at the net. And Gina's like, Emily, I want to talk to you, because Gina can tell that Emily still feels some type of way about the night before and everything. And Emily's like, I don't really want to talk to you. And Gina's like, I know you don't really want to talk to me, but we really need to talk. Like, we really need to talk. And so Gina's like, I said what I said because I heard from Jen that you said that I was up Heather's butt. And Emily's like, you are. And she was like, I don't like the fact that you haven't like been communicating with me. Like, we've been friends for like 6 years, like basically practically best friends, and why haven't you told me how you feel about me and my behavior? And Gina was like, well, I was going to talk to you, but we here now, pretty much. And so Gina was like, well, why do you think I'm up Heather's butt? Like, I'm not. And Emily's like, well, one breath you're singing Katie's praises, like Katie this, Katie that, Katie. But then Katie and Heather get into it, and then now all of a sudden we have a conversation the next day, and you're like, I'm not gonna be friends with Katie if she's gonna be coming in between my relationship with Heather. Like, good riddance to her. And she's like, Emily's like, you had one conversation with Heather, and now all of a sudden you're not cool with Katie. That's weird to me. It's like you always bending the knee and like groveling to her. And Gina is like, you're trying to act like I'm weak, and I'm not weak when it comes to Heather. So then you got Emily in the confessional being like, it feels like Heather is the godfather and Gina is just graveling and trying to like stay in her good graces, and it's weird to me. And so Emily's like, no, I'm not saying you're weak, but you're weak for her, and that bothers me because you're not that type of person. So then Gina's like, well, I really feel like you need to work on your behavior. Like, ever since you became friends with Tamara, you've been real nasty. You've been real mean. You've been real aggressive. And Emily's like, you've known me for 6 years. Like, I'm 48 now. Like, it ain't changing over here. Like, you saw me when I was, like, you became friends with me when I was aggressive. I'm still aggressive. And Gina's like, no, you've gotten a lot more aggressive. And they show the flashback when Emily and Jen at the table where Emily ends up calling Jen stupid. And Jen is like in shock. And so they're arguing back and forth. And then Gina ends up telling Emily, like, why are you being so aggressive now? Like, I'm trying to have a conversation with you. And Emily ends up being like, girl, I have a weapon in my hand and I haven't used it. So what do you mean I'm being aggressive? And I had to get that to Emily because I hate when people are like, you're being aggressive, where you're being aggressive too. Just because I'm matching your energy, like, we're both yelling and screaming at each other. So, like, don't just point out my aggressiveness. Say, point out yours too. Okay. So while they're arguing, you end up seeing Heather and Shannon in the hallway about to like walk out to the court, and they can hear them arguing. And Shannon's like, should we go out there? And Heather's like, no, let's just stay right here, because I don't want to be a part of that. So then Gina gets mad and being like, you're mad at me, Travis is mad at me, Heather is mad at me, like, everyone's just mad at me for like F it. And she throws her pickleball racket and the ball, and she tries to get back into the house, but the doors are locked. So she's frustrated by that. So then she has to come back to the court. And Emily's like, what's wrong? And she's like, I can't get in. So now Gina is just like frustrated, and she's getting like emotional, like overwhelmed. And so Emily's like, wait, just breathe. And so they both basically start crying, where Emily is like, just take a deep breath. And Gina's just kind of like, everything is real fragile for me right now. My situation with Travis is not doing well. They didn't do a flashback at Katie's golf event where Gina shares with Heather how her relationship with Travis isn't where she wants it to be. She's like, it's not doing well. Like, everything is just like, it's crazy right about now, and I don't want to lose Emily, and maybe that's why I'm feeling really emotional right now, but like, I can't take it. So then Gina starts crying, being like, I don't want our relationship to end up like Tamara and Shannon. They're supposed to be best friends, and you see how messed up that is. So then Emily starts crying, and she's like, girl, we would never be that nasty to each other. Like, we're talking this out. Like, I really care about you. Like, I'm the only one that's asking you how you and Travis are doing. Like, has anybody else asked you that? And she's like, Gina basically says like, no, not really. So she's just like, see, that's why we're friends. Like, I really do care about you. So then we finally see Shannon and Heather come outside, and they're like, you good? Y'all hit each other? Like, y'all need to fight it out? Like, what's good? And Emily's instantly annoyed with Heather, and then they hug it out. We actually see Emily and Gina hug it out, and they're kind of in a better place now. So then you have Heather in her confessional just being like, I don't know what's up with Gina. Like, she's arguing with everybody. She's arguing with me, Emily, Jen. Like, maybe her situation with Travis is a lot worse than what I thought. And she's like, honestly, like, this isn't the Gina I became friends with. And I'm like, that's because Gina is an opportunist. I still don't think Gina is a good friend to Heather. I really don't. But honestly, I also don't get what Emily's issue is with Heather. I really think that Emily thought that the takedown that they were trying to do to Heather last season was going to work. And because it didn't, now she's like irritated. I also think she's harboring like some like ill feelings toward Heather because during season 16, when Heather stepped back on the scene, Gina kind of she played Emily to the left, and it was Heather and Gina, like they was linked up like this. And I think Emily still feels some type of way about Heather taking her friend, and now she's just being mean. Like, honestly, I think Emily suffers from like mean fat girl syndrome, or fat mean girl syndrome, where she used to be a woman of a particular size, and either she has not worked through those issues of like internalizing the negative thoughts that she's had and the negative things that people have said to her, the bullying that she went through as maybe like a young adult living in the OC, that now that she's skinny, she is now acting out like her feelings. Or the other half of that is, this is who Emily has always been, and now that she is at a particular size where she feels comfortable and confident, now she's acting out how she really feels and being more insulting. Because it's weird, like Heather hasn't really done anything to Emily that would warrant Emily to always be like annoyed and bothered with her. And I hate using the word jealousy because I don't think it's always like a jealousy thing with people, but it does feel like there's a part of Emily that is somewhat jealous of Heather. And I don't know if it's the money, if it's like she's envious of her body, or if she feels less than when she's around Heather because, you know, Heather is Miss Fancy Pants. But either way, it's not a good look on Emily. Let's talk about the ladies in Big Bear. So they're doing the same thing. It's the next morning. They wake up. They're sitting down in the den area to eat breakfast. And Katie asks, what's her name? Jen. So how did Will do with the kids? So we see that Jen was kind of like worried about Will picking up the kids on time because oftentimes he is late. And Jen was like, oh no, it went great. He did great. Like, everything's gone pretty good so far. So we then get a little backstory about Will's new girlfriend. So Will has a new girlfriend. Her name is Laura. They've been together for like 3 years. We find out that Laura was actually Jen's friend. I said, pump the brakes. I would be mad. I don't care if I emotionally cheated with Ryan. You as my friend, girl, have you been lusting after my husband since we've been friends? On top of that, have you been creeping around with my man? No. And side note, why was Alexis talking about her period in the morning? Don't nobody care. Honestly, shouldn't she be premenopausal? Like, I thought, doesn't menopause normally happen in like your late 40s going into your 50s? I ain't there yet, so I always thought that's the time. But shut up, Alexis. So I'm just like, yeah, if I was Jen, I wouldn't be happy. She even said that like when she saw Laura, I guess either coming out of the house, that's when she found out. She rolled down her window and was cussing Laura. I said, you should have gave Laura a 1-2. Yeah, cuss that lady out. But then she said after she had time to like calm down and think about it, she realized like, okay, I love Laura. Laura's been my friend for all these years. I'd rather have this person around my children than other people around my kids. So then Tamara brings up like, well, did you see them like hanging out like on social media? Like, he posted about it on his Insta story. And then Jen is like, no, I'm blocked. So then Tamara gets up and she shows Jen the kids and him and Laura, and you can hear all the screaming and yelling in the background. And Jen starts to get emotional and like starts to cry. And I think Katie or Alexis is like, why are you getting so emotional? And then Jen is just kind of like, cause I just, I wish I could like be a part of that. So Jen starts talking about how like she's kind of just surprised, and kind of like it kind of hurts to see Will like stand up or like get his stuff together for the next woman instead of like being that way with her. Like all the things that she wanted Will to be and do, he's doing with Laura and their kids, but actually 9 kids, because I guess Laura got 4 kids of her own and they have 5. And she's just kind of like, why couldn't he just do that for us, pretty much? But she was like, she wants to co-parent with William. She doesn't want it to be an issue, but she was like, it just feels like it's just really hard to co-parent. Katie ends up like saying under her breath, like, yeah, I understand, because that's what I want with my ex-husband with my kids. And so she was just like, it's just so difficult. And she's like, she wish it wasn't difficult, because she was like, I don't want to have issues with you. So then Alexis is like, well, that's what she had to tell Jim. She was like, we're going to be at all of our children's like milestones. Like, we need to have we need to get this together. We need to find a way to co-parent and do it well for our children. So then Tamara starts to get emotional, where she talks about her daughter, where she's like, I see pictures of them together, and it's like I'm just like, I just don't exist. Like, I'm just cut out of that family, and it hurts. So then they do a flashback of where she was like, you know, I oftentimes get mad at God, and I'm like, why did you take my daughter from me, Lord? Like, why? And one could reason that like maybe it was like a lesson towards Tamara, like her behavior needs to change. But then I've seen a lot of people be like, well, if Tamara shows up the way she's showing up with Shannon, I get why her daughter doesn't want to be around her. And that's true. But I also think that her daughter just decided to take the dad's side during the divorce. Because even though Tamara has been Tamara and she's a lot this season, she wasn't as bad as she was last season. Well, like previous seasons. Like, she was bad, but she ain't this bad. So I feel like there's more to it. And the fact that the other kids still rock with her and they still have a decent relationship with her, I don't think she's that bad to her kids. I'm not in that lady's life. I'm not in her home. But what I will say is, you just gonna have to grieve that loss. Like, if the girl doesn't want you to be a part of her life, then it is what it is. And I mean, I don't have kids, but I wouldn't, like, I'm the type of person, like, I'm not going to keep trying with you. I know it's different when it's like a parental relationship, but if I have tried and I have exhausted all my options and you have blatantly told me you don't want me to be a part of your life, I wouldn't be longing for that relationship anymore. Like, I'd be like, you cut me off, cool. I don't know you, you don't know me. I'm just not the type of person to keep begging for people to want me to be a part of their life. I used to do that, but now I don't. And I know, like I said, it's a parental thing. It's different. Like, I don't have kids, so I don't have that connection. But if the girl don't want you to be a part of her life, I wouldn't keep like hoping and wishing. I just be like, she don't want me. At least I got the other kids that still rock with me. So I would just focus on them. That's just me. It's just me. So then we have this scene of Jen and Tamara talking about Shannon, and Jen basically telling Tamara, if you want Shannon to get better, then you have to change the way that you're moving. Like, tough love, I don't think is going to work on her. It might just cause her to go even further. So you probably need to just reach out to her and actually have a conversation with her. And Tamara's like, she wants to have a conversation with Shannon, but she keeps getting mad every time they interact with each other. So that's a Tamara problem. We then have this scene of where Katie and what's her name? Alexis are leaving. They're like, everyone's packing up to leave the Big Bear, and we see Alexis on the phone with John, and I guess John is upset. And then you hear Alexis say, okay, so the gloves are coming off. The gloves are coming off. Like, the gloves are coming off. And so as they're saying that, you see Jen and Tamara walking down the steps, and they're just like, ooh. And Jen is like, I don't think this is going to be good for Shannon. And Tamara's like, me neither. And so Katie is trying to console Alexis. Alexis is in the bathroom being like, this will ruin her. Like, once we release the tapes, this will ruin her. Like, I can't stand what she's doing to John, okay? He doesn't deserve this. I said, Alexis. So then next thing you know, she laying on the bed, just... and I'm cackling. And then you hear production ask Alexis in the confessional, what has Shannon done for John to say that the gloves are coming off? And Alexis is like, I'm not like at liberty to say, but she is really like, she's done it now, and John is just done with it. And so the scene ends there. The scene of Ryan and Jen. And honestly, every time I see Ryan, I told y'all all I hear is whoop whoop. That's the sound of the police. Whoop whoop. That's the sound of the police. That's all I see with Ryan, but they're going to get pedicures. And so while they're there, the youngest child, Dominic, calls, and I guess he was asking for her to buy like TP. I don't understand what they were talking about, because she was like, you can't TP a house or something in broad daylight. I didn't understand what they were doing. But then Ryan ends up telling Jen, girl, you're too much of a pushover. You don't always have to say yes to everything that they do. And she ends up saying that she basically has guilt for getting a divorce from William and like changing her kids' lives, or like turning it upside down. And I can understand that, but I actually have to give Ryan credit. Like, you need to tell them no. Like, not telling them no, I feel like does them a disservice. Not like creating boundaries for them, not creating responsible adults, sets them up in like their adult life to fail, in my opinion. Because they then show a flashback of her with her oldest son, and he's complaining about them moving in with Ryan and there being a curfew. And he was like, you made a curfew at 9:00. Yeah, you're 17. What you doing outside? Now, granted, I can't say too much because I was allowed to be outside past 9:00. But I checked in with my parents. As long as I communicated with my parents, like, hey, me and my friends want to stay out longer, I was honest about where I was, I could be outside. I could go and ride and drive wherever I wanted to be. Like, so this like makes me feel like he either doesn't tell Jen where he goes, or he just leaves and like she doesn't know where he's at, or he doesn't really communicate where like what he's doing. And so I'm just like, yeah, girl, you need to create boundaries. I didn't like the fact that Jim was like, well, you need to learn how to pick up after yourself, clean and all of that stuff. What's going to happen when you get a wife? And I'm like, him getting a wife does not matter. He is 17 years old. He should know how to clean up after himself. He should already have certain responsibilities. Because at 17 years old, I had to make sure my car was clean. I never washed my car. My daddy always did that, but I was supposed to keep my car washed. But the inside, I had to make sure it was clean. I had chores of like, me and my sister taking out the trash, washing dishes and things of that nature. And in my family, Fridays, we always would call it every man for themselves Fridays, where like my parents would cook up until Friday. But Friday, either if you had money, you went out and got you something to eat, or you cooked your own meal for yourself. And that taught me and my sister how to cook for ourselves, and make meals. And like we would find recipes and stuff like that, and like learn from my dad, because my dad's the cook in the house. But I'm just kind of like, you should be prepared. Like, you should prepare your child, because I feel like when people do that with their kids, it puts them at a disadvantage when they leave the house. Like, you don't want your child to be solely dependent on you. And it was always like very like perplexing to me, especially when I went to college, when I would meet girls and boys that didn't know how to wash their own clothes, didn't know how to cook and clean and pick up after themselves. It was always like, your parents didn't show you how to do this. Like, you didn't want to learn how to do this. Like, you didn't want some type of independence. Like, that's just weird to me. So I definitely agree with Ryan at this point. Like, yeah, you need to create boundaries. You need to start saying no. Jen needs to start saying no. And I understand having like mommy guilt, but like, I wouldn't feel guilty for leaving a situation that no longer served me, because basically we have two conversations happening. You got Tamara and Gina meeting up at Gina's house, and then you have Katie and Emily going to like the candy shop with their youngest kids. And so with Tamara and Gina is showing Tamara around her place. Tamara has this face like, oh, the same face that Shannon had, looking at how small the house is and being like, girl, all of y'all fit in here? Okay. And so they sit down at the kitchen table and they start talking, and Gina's just like, well, how was your trip? And Tamara's like, oh, it was good, other than Alexis wouldn't shut up. And Gina ends up being like, well, when Shannon's around, Alexis can't stop talking about Shannon. So was she like that even when Shannon wasn't around? And what's her name? Tamara's like, no, she really didn't bring up she really didn't bring up Shannon like that. So then Gina ends up bringing up how Shannon was able to let her guard down and actually open up to them about what she's been going through. And Gina brings up, Tamara and Shannon's relationship. She was like, you're her best friend and you've been coming hard at her. Like, ease up on her. And Tamara's just like, no. Like, I know Shannon for her works. I know how she is. And I feel like Shannon feels like because she now has you guys on her side, it's going to allow her to like backpedal and start to exhibit the same behavior. And Gina was just like, I understand that you're mad at her, but like you going real hard. So then Tamara is like, well, you had your DUI and you stopped drinking and you didn't have a drinking problem. And then Gina's like, no, I had my DUI. I continued to drink because I felt like a loser. She also was like, and she was just like, I don't have a drinking problem. Like, I'm not an alcoholic, but like drinking did get a hold of me in that one dark part of my life. So like I understand like taking accountability and wanting to like move forward, and I don't think what you're doing with her is like going to be beneficial. So you need to switch up what you're doing. And Tamara was like, well, I want to talk to her. I'm going to reach out to her and see if we can have a conversation. So we then see this conversation between Katie and who was it? Katie and Emily. They have their little kids and they're out at like some candy shop and the kids are running rampant. So then they have the same whole pleasantries about their like trip. Girl, Katie said she had a good time. Then they showed them ladies in them bear costumes singing Kumbaya, my lord. I said, what? Kumbaya, my lord. I said, why are y'all singing this on this trip? After this lady just took pictures for OnlyFans, sticking her toe in some pot. What? So Emily tells Katie about what happened between Gina and Heather, being like, Gina apologized to Heather, but it really wasn't good enough. And it got to the point where Gina was just like, what else do you want from me? And Katie's like, yeah, like, what else does she want? And I'm like, Katie, shut up. Because then Katie's in her confessional. Mind you, this is a really pretty confessional for Katie. I like the color on her skin. It's like kimono-esque. Is that a kimono? I don't think that's what, I think a kimono is Japanese. I think this is more so like Chinese with the way that it's like embroidered, like not embroidered, but the way that it's like the button up around the collar. I'll find a picture to explain what I'm saying. But pretty much Katie is like, I'm realizing that like, I thought Gina was my girls, but she's more Heather's girl. Of course, Katie, you just met the lady like 5 months ago. Why would you think she would be your friend and y'all was like locked in like this? You're being weird. You're being weird. And it's not, Gina did not throw you under the bus like that. You were already digging before you got on the show. She might have kind of like, I feel like Gina did possibly set you up, but you didn't have to take the bait. The lady told you don't bring it up and you brought it up anyway. And even if you thought Gina was going to tell Heather, let her tell Heather and deal with it if you didn't feel compelled to tell Heather. I just feel like, girl, you are trying to like sidestep accountability for your ways. But yeah, girl, no. You being weird, Katie. So they're talking about the situation. And so Katie brings up how Alexis freaked out and was like crying on the bed, like on the bed and all of that stuff. And about this tape, the tapes that she has on Shannon. And Emily's like, what tapes does she have on Shannon? Like, what are you talking about? And so Katie ends up saying they basically have like ring footage of Shannon almost running over John's daughter. I said, damn. And you got Emily being like, what? Like she almost ran the little girl over. And I agree with Emily when she said, if Alexis and John are supposed to be happy, why can't y'all just ride off into the sunset? Why are you feeling the need to drag Shannon's lifeless body with it? Yeah, like, what's the point of releasing these tapes? And we actually see them actually tell Shannon like 2 weeks later, and she's like, oh my God, he's a monster, like crying and like freaking out. And I'm just like, yeah, like, why do you have those tapes? Like, I mean, if it's ring footage, that is your footage, but like, why are you going to release these? And maybe it's because John feels like Shannon is ruining his reputation. So he's like, let's fight fire with fire. But this is not making you look any better, sir. It really isn't. We actually get to see the sit down between Shannon and Tamra. While Tamra's on her way to the sit down, she actually calls Jen while she is doing one of her confessionals, and they're talking. And so she's just like, "Yeah, I'm gonna go see Shannon." So we see them sit down. Off rip, I felt like Tamra was being like combative. Like, I was like, girl, if you decided to sit down with the lady, like, be open minded. Be open minded. Like, Shannon was already guarded, and I get why Shannon is guarded when it comes to Tamara, so I didn't fault her too much, but I also was looking at Shannon like, if you're gonna sit down with her, you should be like open-minded as well. Like, what's the point of y'all sitting down if y'all aren't gonna have like an actual conversation? Like, this is pointless and a waste of your time. So Shannon basically tells Tamara, you've been trying to you've been defaming my character for the past like 8 weeks, and Tamara's like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And then she starts mimicking Shannon like, no, I haven't. No, I haven't. And then Tamara's like, Shannon is like, can you be calm for a minute? Like, can you ever be calm? Like, last week you was talking bad about me. And she was like, the last time we had a conversation, and they flash back to the dinner scene where they both got into that arguing match when Shannon left the room. And Tamara was like, I can't defame you with things that are true. And I mean, that is true. It's not defaming someone's character if the stuff that's like, I mean, it is, but like, if it's true, it's not defamation. So then Tamara is like, if you don't have a drinking problem, why were you sneaking drinks? And so they flash back to the episode we saw, like, first season, not the first season, but the first episode of the season, where Tamara is telling them about how Shannon told Tamara's photographer to go get her a drink so she could pour it in her Diet Coke, but not to tell anybody. And so Shannon is just kind of like, why are you being like this towards me? Like, so many people have like poured love into me, but you are just really coming at me. And so Tamara is just like, because you have a drinking problem. And Shannon is like, who are you to tell me I have a drinking problem? You be drinking. And then Tamara is like, but girl, I ain't never ran my car into somebody's house. And I said, touche, she got you right there. She got you right there, Shannon. Tamara do like to drink. She always want to do shots. She always want to whoop it up, but she never ran her car into somebody's house. Let's call it thing. I was like, I don't even know why you tried to throw that in her face. So then Shannon gets upset. She gets frustrated, and she runs to the bathroom. A producer goes after her, is trying to calm her down. Another producer is at the table being like Tamara's like, is she coming back? Like, she coming back? What's she doing? In there drinking in the bathroom? I said, dang, girl, like, get off her neck. Like, get off the lady's neck. So then Shannon comes and sits back down. And she's just kind of like, I just don't understand you right about now. Like, all these people have been pouring love into me, and you are like, just like putting more dirt on top of me while I'm trying to dig myself out of this hole. And maybe I do drink really heavily during dark periods of my life, but like, I can't like believe this is how you're being towards me. And so Tamara is like, that's real offensive for you to say that, like, I haven't been there for you. For the past 10 years, I've been doing a lot for you. And that's probably true as well. Like, don't get me wrong. I think Tamara is being a complete and utter asshole and like just horrible towards Shannon. But I also can't be like, I don't think Tamara hasn't done things for Shannon. I think she has. And I feel like right now everyone's trying to like act like Shannon hasn't done things to other people because of how nasty Tamara is being. Like, Shannon has been nasty and horrible to other people on this show. It's just that it don't look right coming from Tamara because you throwing alcoholism in this lady's face. On top of it, she looked like a bruised and battered lamb. And you look like a hungry wolf. So Tamara needs to ease up. And then Tamara starts, Shannon just starts talking about how bad things have been with this whole lawsuit with John. So then Tamara is like, is she really suing you? Or is John really suing you? And Shannon is like, yeah, he is really suing me. And then that's where you can see Tamara kind of soften to Shannon because she's like, oh, like, this is not just talk. Like, they're really trying to do legal action against Shannon. So then Shannon is like, my attorneys, like, she's getting emotional while she's saying this, like, my attorneys sent over information to come to like some type of agreement, but John pretty much, his legal team sent back, if Shannon doesn't pay the $7,000, they're going to proceed with the lawsuit and sue. And Shannon is like, I refuse to be paying payments to John Jansen. Like, I'm not doing it. So Tamara ends up being like, this really sucks. I'm sorry, Shannon, pretty much, like, yeah, this ain't right. And then she says in confessional that, like, yes, I'm friends with Alexis, but like, I don't think this is right. She was like, even though me and like Shannon have our issues, she was like, we bonded when Alexis' ex-husband Jim Bellino sued us. Like, we trauma bonded, because at one point we didn't even know if we were going to have money in our bank accounts to support ourselves after the lawsuit. So she was like, I understand where Shannon is coming from. So because they had that moment, Shannon and Tamara end up hugging, because Tamara ends up inviting Shannon to this dinner that she's having. She's like, you and Vicky, I would like y'all to come. So they hug each other, and then they have a moment where, Tamara's like, us blondes, we fight really hard. And I was like, this is kind of messed up, because they have this moment and you would think that it might last them longer than what it has. But I bet you by the time we get to like episode 9, they're going to be beefing again. But one thing I have an issue with Shannon is Shannon doesn't get brownie points for not going low with Tamara. Like that whole, like when Shannon was in her confessional being like, oh, Tamara, that's what Tamara just does. She goes low. And the things that I could say, and I'm like, say them. That whole when they go low, we go high, I don't believe in that. If you were trying to slit my throat, girl, I'm going to stab you in the chest with my words. This whole like, I'm not going to fight back, that's pathetic to me. Like, if Tamara wants to go to hell, girl, take it to the next dimension of hell with her. Take it to like the basement in hell. Go even lower. Because like this whole protecting people that harm you is weird to me, because I wouldn't do it. I just wouldn't. So yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. As always, remember to be bravely authentic, and definitely hop down in the comments below and share your thoughts with me. And I'm out, y'all. Deuces.